Was it worth it to upgrade from a $30 airbrush to a $150 Harder & Steenbeck 2024 Evolution CR Plus? Let's find out in this video. Since I started airbrushing 3 years ago, I had those two no-name airbrushes for $30 each. And they are good enough for base coats, but when you want to do detailed work like shading a face, they were too binary, meaning they kinda only have two states. No paint coming out or more paint coming out than you want, because there is no trigger consistency. So I thought it's time to upgrade to the next level. I did 10 minutes of research and then I ended up with the H&S Evolution CR Plus 2024. My main reason to buy this one is obvious. Half of my name is written on the airbrush. Before we kick things off, 3 quick disclaimers. I bought the airbrush with my own money, so I can and will say whatever I want. And since I didn't have any other better airbrush yet, I can only compare it to my cheap ones. I'm by no means an airbrush pro, so if you are and you see that I'm doing something wrong during the video, please let me and all the other people watching know to become better. But now let's get the unboxing started. The airbrush case looks pretty cool and valuable, but also pretty small, which does make sense if you open it. Despite a card that shows the quality check for this airbrush, at least I hope that's what it is and not just a printout, the airbrush is everything that's in the box. No separate cup, no air hose, what you see here is what you get for $150. Whereas this is what you can get for $30. The airbrush comes securely nestled inside the box and it looks really nice with the chrome and gold. The cup lid sits pretty tight and is a bit hard to remove, but I usually paint without the lid anyway. What I directly noticed is that the trigger has a really small stroke. It feels like 2 or 3 millimeters, whereas my old airbrush's trigger moved way more. Having the airbrush in my hand doesn't really feel any different from my old airbrush, except the cup is closer to the trigger in the new one. The new Evolution comes with a 0.28mm needle, which according to H&S gives better detail than the previous 0.2mm. You can also get it as a 2-in-1 version, where you get an additional 0.45mm needle. And here you can see that there is a bit of paint left on the needle, so that card wasn't just a printout. I've heard that people sometimes complain about the Harder & Steenbeck trigger delay compared to brands like Iwata. H&S claims they have redesigned the trigger control to give a more responsive feel compared to the previous version. On the backside of the package you can see some additional key features that are also explained on their website, so I won't go further into details here. Also, one big difference to my cheap airbrushes is that it comes with a quick connector for the air hose. The only problem is I don't have a quick connector hose. But you can easily unscrew this part and use your regular threaded air hose. And since we're already on that, let's set it up for a paint test. But before we go to the Evolution, I will show you what bothers me about my current 0.2mm needle setup. The needle sticks out a bit, and I think because of that the tip is not perfectly tipped anymore, which I think is the main reason it doesn't atomize the color perfectly anymore. But in addition to that, you need a lot of force to pull the trigger back, and you never really know at which point the color starts to come out. But now onto the Evolution. What I directly noticed was that the airflow already sounds way smoother than my other airbrush. I started with 30 psi for both of them, but during the test of the Evolution I also went down to about 10 psi and it still worked fine. What I also noticed right away is that your finger only needs to move a tiny bit back and then the paint starts coming out. So compared to the cheap one, you know better when you can expect the paint to come out. But because of that, it's also tricky to get out only a tiny bit of paint. If you compare this output of the Evolution with my cheap airbrush, though, you can definitely see a difference. The difference in the control you have over the amount coming out is not as big as I would have hoped, but the trigger is still way more responsive with the Evolution. And it also needs way less force to move the trigger, which makes long airbrush sessions way more comfortable. To sum it up, this airbrush will most likely not make me a better airbrush overnight, but I definitely don't regret buying it and I'm looking forward to paint this guy with it in one of the next videos. So if you want to see that, make sure to subscribe, and guys, please leave a comment for the algorithm. Let me know what airbrush you are using and if you have made your own experience with different price ranged airbrushes. And I'll catch you in the next video.